My father actually took me to the zoo, to zoos in New York all the time. I mean, I was with going to the zoos there. I mean, really, truly, I would say at least once or twice a month. I went to the zoos. We lived in Brooklyn. When I was 3, we moved to Brooklyn, and I lived there until I was 11. And we were always going. He was always taking me to Prospect Park Zoo in Brooklyn, and it was a big complex. It wasn't just a zoo; it was a big park. It was a botanical gardens. It was a museum. So we were always going there. We was always going, and it was one of my favorite places, Prospect Park Zoo. I had a toad, but my mother wouldn't let me keep it. That's what the whole problem was. So, never had a dog when I was a kid. I never had any of that stuff. Actually, I had turtle. I did have a turtle. Yeah, one of those little red-legged ones, that you buy in the dime store. I did have that, and I had some goldfish. Yeah, that was it. I went to see Warren Thomas. And I said to him, because I just had that feeling, it would be great to work in the zoo. That's when it started, really. And I had the feeling, and it just, as luck in a way, it's not real lucky to the guy who died, but there was the guy who took care of the Primate building, was a good friend of mine, and I got to know him very well, and he unfortunately died. And he used to let me take care of the building. He would leave early, and he would allow me to take care of the building, unbeknownst, I'm sure, to the staff. But I did, because I knew it. I was there for years. I knew what was going on, and I knew how to do it. So I'd feed him. I'd give him, I would do all, kinds of stuff. And so I went to see Thomas, Warren Thomas, and I said, do you know any zoo jobs that are available anywhere? And some things went off in his head, and he said, well, what about here? I hadn't really thought of that. I really didn't. And I said, well, what about here? He says, well, Jimmy just died. He says, and he knew anyway. He said, you know that building. You could just step in there and take over. I said, well, okay. Whether it's conservation or not. I mean, maybe it's a pipe dream to think that the zoos were going to be able to save gorillas or any animal, really. But it's we all had that desire, I think. Everybody had that desire and that wish to see them reproduce, to make a more natural group of animals, for one thing, and you just wanted to see that. You wanted a young. You always, whenever a baby was born of anything, that made you very, very happy and pleased, because you were fulfilling one of the functions that the zoo had, and that's and to finally have this happen with gorilla, which was, of course, one of the icons. It was really an amazing thing.